Everything is so expensive nowadays. And one sister says they're only expensive because the colonizers are thieves. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. It's all about keeping us in a form of servitude, making more money than I ever made. Yet I really don't see the difference because everything's so expensive. And so she says that's definitely the game that they play. They pay you more, but then charge you more. So they keep you in their pockets. Exactly. And you gotta think about this too, the taxes. But that's okay. We pay these high taxes, but one day their reign will be over, and the meek shall inherit the earth. Psalms 37, verse 11. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. So some of you may be saying, that day or that one day is happening right now. The restoration has come, and the people of God will indeed have abundance of peace. I'm seeing the restoration taking place, and Yasharal, true Israel, are waking up. But the completion, the receiving of the inheritance of the goodness of Yah's green earth will only be achieved when the principalities in high places are imprisoned, when the rulers of darkness are dethroned, when the colonizers are forced to pay a recompense for their evil deeds. Then the lion will lie down with the lamb, and all powers and authority are put under the feet of our King and his administration. We can read about that in Hebrews chapter 2, verse 8. Thou hast put all things in subjection under his feet, referring to Yahushua. For in that he put all in subjection under him, he left nothing that is not put under him. Meaning that means everything belongs to the Messiah. Everything is under his authority. But now, in this current age, we see not yet, meaning present, all things put under him. Basically saying right now, everything don't seem to be under his control. So what the writer in Hebrews is doing is speaking about a spiritual dominance and a future manifestation dominance of authority. When everything is put under his feet, meaning that everything is brought under subjection to our Messiah. Well, we don't see that right now, but it's coming. That's at a later date. And you may be saying, well, every day that I live, I do so on the earth that God made. Every place my feet tread is blessed. So I don't have to wait for the destruction of the evil system for God to give me what I need. And that's a positive outlook. But you are still in a captive state in the land of your oppressors. Let me continue.
Well, let me try to put it this way. Everywhere I go, everything I touch, I know is blessed because I am a child of the King. I am a child of the Most High Yah. He has given me dominion He has given me favor. He has shown me abundantly over and over again blessings, even so much that the chariots of Israel appear before me. But yet I still do understand, just as the scripture states, that until the wicked is put under our feet, then this world is not manifested as ours. See, right now we can spiritualize and we can look at it and say, yes, it is ours. It is ours now. But we don't have the power. See, we're still in this physical body trying to manifest that power that the Most High has given us. But yet we're plagued with sickness. Let me continue. We're plagued with sicknesses, diseases. Our people as a whole suffer from all types of mental illnesses and sexual immorality, poverty, violence. Our people are in a state of decay. True, a lot of them are starting to wake up and understand that we have a destiny to fulfill. But we are struggling as a whole because there is an evil presence that is oppressing, depressing. Those colonizers you speak of, that has to be dealt with. So as a righteous God who has said to us that we are gods, we must judge a just judgment, else we are not righteous. If we allow the evil to continue without it being dealt with, without calling it out, then we are no better than the evil that we are talking about. We cannot tolerate the evil. We cannot tolerate the lawlessness. It must be identified and dealt with. And that's all I'm trying to make clear, is that we want to look at this world as a world that is already set up and designed for us. But yet there is a hindrance that keeps us from fully enjoying it, fully receiving the expectation. So what are you going to do about the colonizers? What are you going to do about those who are charging you an arm and a leg just to live in this world? See, those people have to be dealt with. And you can't deal with them because we don't have the physical power. It's a spiritual battle. It's spiritual warfare. And that's the reason why even Paul said we don't fight against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness in high places. See, Lord, you got a spiritual enemy in high place that is always working against you. So you have to acknowledge that and realize that once it is dealt with, then all the blessings that has been written will be bestowed. Right now, you only can dream about it, you only can spiritualize it, you can look and say it is mine now, and you can receive it in the spirit world, but I'm talking about this physical world right now. All these laws that man has created, they're not the Most High's laws. These laws are created by the man in his own wisdom, and his wisdom is flawed. And we have to get to a righteous judgment, a righteous law, and that is through the Most High Yah. Okay.
So then the next question may come up is that if Yahushua finished the work of overcoming the evil of the world and rose of all power, then what spiritual war would we need to fight? Very good question.
So yes, Yahushua, Jesus, he rose from the dead, and he told the apostles that he has all power in heaven and earth. So not some power, but all the power. And that's exactly true, because what he's speaking of is that he can allow whatever happens to happen, or he can stop it. He has the keys to death and hell. There's nothing that he cannot do. However, he's allowing a time for us to get it right. He's allowing this time for the devil to have his way, and to me it seems like one big test to see who will be willing to sacrifice their worldly desires for a greater good. But to get back to the question at hand, because this goes to the scripture that I posted earlier. I really shouldn't call it scripture, I should say the letter to the Hebrews, where he says that, referring to Yahweh Shai, all things are put under his feet, yet we don't see it. We don't see it now. So what the writer is doing is pretty much using your logic of how we know he has all power and all things are put under his feet, but yet he's also looking at it from my perspective that right now, though, we don't see it. So there's a spiritual war, because there's a spiritual enemy that works through physical men to create this chaos that we see on this earth. So the spiritual war is this. It goes back to the thing you mentioned earlier when we had visited for the feast of the feast of unleavened bread. You had said, and I remember this because it was very good what you said, because I know that's right. Said the people's heart has to be right. In other words, I'm trying to share stuff with them and they don't receive it. I said their mind won't open up to receive it. You said their heart, and I said yes, you're right. But I use the term mind, but yes, the heart and the mind are synonymous. So the spiritual war is their heart, their mind. See, we're bombarded. You go to a movie, you look at television, everywhere you go, we're bombarded
I-294 South
with the influences of our adversary, and that's a spiritual war right there. Oh, we got a The spiritual war is just trying to get our hearts and minds right and to keep from falling into temptations. Because we're, as the old saying goes, born in sin, shaped in iniquity. That means we're molded to this society that is constructed by our enemy. So what I try to do is try to help equip my people with knowledge to help them fight this spiritual war, because like I said, I don't know if I said it before, but once I understood who I was and my connection with the divine, with the God of creation, I said, oh, well, I want to please that God. I don't want to be doing things that displeases him. And if being an Israelite and keeping his laws is what he commands, then so be it. But originally I didn't want to do it because I don't want to get involved in all that stuff. But anyway, that's the war. Now once our people and us get on this right path, then we're going to see the manifestation of that spiritual war to a physical war. And that's the battle of Armageddon that you heard about. That's the battle where the Most High, Yahweh Shai, comes back with 10,000s of his saints. And as Enoch said, and it's quoted in the book of Jude, that he comes with 10,000 of the saints to execute judgment on all the ungodly. See, they have to be judged. So we got this time right now to get it right, so we don't be part of that tear, because there's the wheat and the tares. The tares are going to be gathered together and burned in the fire. The wheat is going to be gathered together and preserved, saved, put in his divine barn, as you will say, as you could put it. So there's fire that's coming upon this earth. There's a fire, not just a spiritual fire. Some people call it a spiritual holy fire. No, there is a physical fire. I mean, there's death and destruction on the horizon, and that's preserved for the wicked. But then you have to determine what's the wicked. What's considered wicked? Well, to God, in his eyes, whatever is breaking his law is wickedness. So we don't want to be breaking his laws and be considered on the wrong side of history. We don't want to be put in this wicked category. So that's the spiritual war, to get our minds, our hearts, to understand that there is a line that has been drawn in the sand, and it's not by us, it's by God. He didn't say it's this way or the highway. And we got to get ourselves on that right path. And I'm doing my best. I know I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, but we're told to be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. So that is also a command. We're not supposed to give up and say, well, we can't just, do all these things that he wants. Sure we can. Oh man, I need to talk to you. My hands hurting holding this phone. Now, so far, I've only talked about the spiritual war that goes on between God's people, between his people and their adversary. So, for example, say I'll use myself as an example. The spiritual war that I had to deal with in my life, dealing with trying to overcome this world system. Now, let me touch a little bit on the other perspective. I'm saying it wrong. Let me touch on the opposite team, or the other team. Because what's going on, there's a spiritual battle with them, and that war we're fighting too. That's what we had to pray for divine intervention to gain favor with these people that are already, these people who are already lost the spiritual war and given their souls over to the devil. So, and I'm just using those very generic terms, giving their souls over. It's not really like that. I'm trying to say is that many people have already lost the battle, or were never fighting the battle to begin with, or were already on the wrong team from birth. I hate to say it like that, but they're pretty much were scheduled to be the opposition. And that's another topic that goes into predestination and all that. But those people are being manipulated and controlled by a spiritual entity. And that spiritual entity uses the same influences that he has put out here for us. And it's the simple things. The greed, the lust, the cares and the desires of this world. So these people who have already given themselves over and have lost this spiritual battle, or were never fighting a spiritual battle to begin with, now you're dealing with these presidents, these rulers, these governors, and these magistrates, and these kings, and politicians, and senators, and governors, and mayors, and even some people in the police force who have been given authority to affect your life. And if they have already given themselves over to darkness, then they have become your enemy. Now you have to pray and have a spiritual battle take place that will change their heart to give you. So like, they've been given the power, but they abuse it. And you can fight against their authority by praying or requesting aid from a higher authority. You see what I'm saying here? Because see, they only had the authority because all power has been given to Yahweh Shai. And he gives it to whom he will. So you got to go to him and wage spiritual warfare against those people who can say they can hold you back in a position. They can lock you up and send you to prison. They can almost kill you and get away with it. So, in a long story short, what we as a people have to understand that we have to have a higher power, Yahweh, and his son Yahweh Shai, to interact in our lives, intercede in our lives, because we can't do it on our own. We cannot physically take it right now. We cannot gain the power through a physical mean. We have to go through a spiritual battle. And then once that spiritual battle is won, then naturally the physical will manifest. It will manifest in the physical realm. It all starts spiritually first. And that's really interesting because it's almost like what's the reality? Is it the physical or is it the spiritual? I'll let you decide on that one. Now let me say this. Let's use another example of this spiritual war. See, right now, those who say that they are the Jews in our land have this power backing them. What power they got backing them? The United States. So when Iran, I'm sure you're aware of the news, shot all these missiles over there. At least that's what they tell us. I kind of believe it. But they shot almost like 200-some missiles over into the land of Israel to cause death and destruction. And hardly none of them, I don't think any of them hit their target. Why? Because they were all shot out of the air. They were all destroyed by America's intercepting capability. They were able to intercept those missiles shot by Iran and also the Iron Dome by those who say they are the Jews. Everything was deflected. So Iran, using its physical might, thought it had a leverage that it was going to overwhelm the colonizers, let's use that term. But yet they found out that they couldn't be touched. Those people, they can't touch them. Revelation 13. And they said, who is like unto the beast? Who can make war with him? See, they can't even make war with him. They can't even touch him. The beast is untouchable. See, this is a beast power we're living in, and it has devoured the whole world. And with physical means, it's untouchable. That's why you got to have a higher power, a power that's beyond the superpower of America and Israel. I'm sorry, I hate to use the word Israel. We'll say the colonizers again. That's a good term. From now on, when I say colonizers, you know we're on the same page with what we're talking about. The colonizers have all this physical might. Therefore, they are considered a superpower. They're in control. They set the stage. They set the stage. So that's what they think. They're just allowed this power for a reason and a purpose. Because ultimately, just like it was in Egypt, the Most High allowed Egypt to rise as a world power, just so he could lay his hand on Egypt and show that I have more power than even Egypt. I can bring Egypt down to his knees. And then everyone will say, whoa, only a God can do that. And that's what's going to take place. Only a God can destroy the beast. But before that destruction can take place, the spiritual war in our minds have to be won. See, we have to, as a people, have to come to understanding of who we are, so we can start crying out and praying, requesting, almost demanding for judgment. That's the reason why when you read in Revelation, it tells you how the souls of the martyrs said, how much longer before you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood? See, they've been killed, they've been martyred, and they want vengeance, they want justice. So we have to get in our minds that it's time for justice. But our people won't think that way unless they know who we are and know what's really going on. So that's the spiritual war, to keep you ignorant so you can't request aid. You got to pray the prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. See, that is a key prayer. But the enemy don't want you praying that. He don't want you to know that his kingdom has to come to an end. And only way it's going to come to an end is through your prayer, your humble and bold request, inviting a new kingdom, a righteous kingdom, to replace it. So the spiritual war is to keep you from knowing that. He don't want you to request the spiritual aid to destroy the works of the devil, the works of our enemy.